Well, we are blessed this kitchen series. We're blessed with Jorge Rodriguez and Daniel Rodriguez, which people call you Cheeky. I want to know all about that.
Yeah.
How we went from Jorge to Cheeky. Well, we have Cheeky and Danny blessing this kitchen today, having lunch with your pastor, parishioners of ours. Blue Missions is here with us today. We're so excited, but I want to dig in. I'm hungry. I don't know about you.
We're pretty hungry.
Pretty hungry? Looks good, right?
Yeah.
We brought out these plates because it kind of had a feel of the Dominican Republic, and
Thank
so,
you.
yeah.
Making us
in
feel
your
at
honor. In the name of the Father and of the Son, Holy Spirit, amen. Good and gracious God, we give you thanks for this beautiful day. We ask you, Lord God, to bless this meal we're about to receive. Bless the hands that prepared it. Bless all those who go hungry. In a special way, bless all those in the Dominican Republic that Blue Mission serves, that in a special way today they receive your blessing and your presence. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. So today we have rice, some tostones, we have camarones enchilados or shrimp
Creole.
So it's a little bit of the island flavor. So but dig in, don't be afraid to dig in. And one of the things that's been happening on this show lately, I don't know if I know you guys have been watching because you just told me, but it's turned into watch my pastor eat instead of have lunch with my pastor. But I'm so glad you guys are here, and I want to talk about Blue Missions and talk about you guys. But go ahead, dig in. We have the shrimp here. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pour it over the rice here because I think that's the best way to eat it. But you can do whatever you want.
Looks great, Father.
Looks good, no?
Oof, very good.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite.
Secret recipe?
Not one of my secret recipes, but it's one of my favorite meals. In fact, when I went down to the Dominican Republic for the first time with Michelle, we went down to assess, what are we going to do? Where are we going to send our young people? Where's our parish going? Cheeky, you took us.
Yeah.
And that was such a beautiful place. What's the name of the retreat house that we stayed in Santiago?
Well, it's ILAC, which is the Institute for Latin American Concerns, where the Jesuits actually hold and host a lot of students from the U.S. that come specifically from Creighton University, Georgetown, Boston, and yeah, that's the place where we stayed for a couple of nights.
Yeah, it's such a beautiful place. They maintain it so well. And then next door they have like a clinic that the Order of Malta.
That's correct. Yeah, right next door there's a big facility. I mean, it's a full-fledged hospital.
Full-fledged.
Where they have a lot of volunteers that come through the year. One of which is the Order of Malta. And if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the key people from the Order of Malta come to this parish.
Yeah, they are parishioners.
So I think
we're having mass tomorrow for the Order of Malta, and
that's awesome.
most of them will be here, and some of the doctors that go down on the mission will be here. Yeah. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But before we get into Blue Missions, I want to know how the name Cheeky came out.
Oh, that was a long time ago. I mean, I've always been short in stature. So when I was in school, the first few years, my friends would just start calling me Cheeky, Chiquitín, just for Chiquito. And it stuck, So there's many people that have known me my entire life. And after 20 years, they say, by the way, what is your real name? So yeah, when people, the only people that call me Jorge are my wife, my mother.
Your wife does? That's interesting.
Yeah. And just maybe some of the older
or when
family,
you're in trouble,
or when I'm in trouble. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So, Danny, talk to us. You are the man behind Blue Missions. How did that start? What a great project.
Yeah, I mean, the story is interesting. Before keep getting my hands dirty, I want to give you a shirt that says "Kindness Connects Us."
Wow, that's so nice.
And it's a limited edition shirt. One of our brand ambassadors, Alex Mijares, artist here from Miami, designed it for us.
Look at this, how nice this is. Look at this.
I thought it would be appropriate.
Yeah. This is becoming a show where the guests are bringing gifts. I love it. I'm going to wear it. I love it.
But yeah, the Blue story.
Blue looks good, right?
Looks good. Looks good.
Wow, that's nice. Thank you.
No, you're welcome. Thank you. And yeah, Blue is something that, it's not what I envisioned would be my vocation or my calling, but that was the plan that God had, and that's the route that Blue took. And it all started back when I was 16 years old, and my dad invited me to join him on a mission trip to the Dominican Republic to work on a water project. And I really did not want to go, but my sister had already gone.
You were in high school?
I was in high school, attending Christopher Columbus High School, and we had a service hour requirement. So we had to get 100 hours of service done by the time we graduated.
Well, okay, I'll do this.
Yeah. I knew that the college was around the corner. I was going to have to apply, write an essay. Thought maybe, it would be good content for an essay. I was going into it for all the wrong reasons. And the magic really happened once I was there. Leading up to the trip, I didn't want to be there. My birthday fell on the trip. I wanted to be back at home with my friends. I didn't want to be sweating, sleeping on a cot, digging trenches, mixing cement.
And Chiqui, were you saying, no, you're going on the trip?
Yeah, if you hear the story from Danny, I forced him to go on this trip.
Yeah.
To an extent, I did. It was always...
And you did.
It was always my wife Nancy and I's vision to try to teach our children the value of service.
Yeah.
The value of understanding that you had many things here that others did not have. So it was that gratitude part.
You are blessed. You need to give back.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I began with Nicole, my oldest daughter, who went 2 years prior to Danny. And then the following year, that year 2, I invited Danny and he said no. I gave him a free pass for 1 year.
Oh, okay.
And then on the 3rd year, that's when I kind of just strengthened my request for him to go on a trip, which was with an organization, by the way, LIFO Missions.
How'd you get involved with them?
Well, they're very good friends of ours. Albert Perez and Alfred Consuegra are very good friends that we've known each other for many years, since the teenage years of being involved in youth encounters and different activities.
Right.
And these two gentlemen also got, bit by that bug in the Dominican Republic when they went as 17, 18-year-olds on a mission trip with Belen.
Wow.
And Father Eddie Alvarez took them.
Yeah.
Albert was going to high school in Columbus, and Alfred was going at Belen Jesuit. So that's the unique thing about this kind of rivalry of two schools, yet connecting together. And they've been doing this for 37 years. So I'm sure Danny will express to you a bit more the mentoring that...
So that's how the Dominican Republic and the water projects comes into your life.
Correct.
Then your son now goes on this trip reluctantly. Mm-hmm. So Danny, pick it up. What happened?
Yeah, so the first couple of days were tough, but...
You were miserable.
I was a little bit miserable, but I was also just shocked. It was just shock and awe.
Had you been to the DR, or have you been to that country before?
I had been once when I was younger on vacation.
Right.
Punta Cana doesn't really count.
Right.
It was a lot different where we were. We were in a small town called Benua Arriba, less than 90 families, and they were walking to get water. And to me, that just seemed like is impossible. How could it be that there are people in this world living that way?
Yeah.
And the rest of the world doesn't know, or they're not outraged by it. And just being on that trip, seeing the community get clean water, seeing their reactions, seeing the way they came together. So it clicked on that
first trip. It clicked for you.
It clicked in a way of raising my awareness and kind of piquing my interest enough to want to learn more about the issue. So that was kind of the springboard. It was a lot of fun, and I think that's something that LIFO deserves a lot of credit for. They wanted to always make these missions fun, and
because if you make it too intensive, who's going to return? Or,
exactly.
And then tell their friends, don't go to that. It's too hard.
Our whole live service has been a requirement, at least in my life up until that point. It was, if it's not in middle school, if it's not in high school. When people get arrested, they're sometimes mandated to community service, and I don't think that should be seen as a punishment.
Right.
It should be seen as something that you want to do. And,
right.
And they kind of had that mindset going into LIFO missions, and when I participated, had a great time. We helped the community, we learned, and then, it just made me want to keep going back. I was 16, so I decided I'll go back the next year, and the year after that. And
you did?
And I did, and after going 3 times.
And Chiqui, you would go?
Yeah, we did LIFO for a good 10 years in a row with all family members. Started with Nicole, then Danny, then eventually Camila, my youngest, my wife Nancy. We made it a family outing. So it kind of became our summer vacation. And whoever could join from the family, that's how we would do it.
Wow.
Yeah. That's why we've talked a lot about this at a parish level, right?
Yeah.
You know, Blue Missions has been primarily a high school, university student driven.
Yeah.
But now, as we develop more and grow more, we'd like to expand that to families, to parishes, like the experience we had with yourself and the youth group.
Yeah, when Michelle and I went and we took the young adults, from the day one, I said, and I think I said it to you, I definitely said it to Danny, we had a lot of time in the car. We drove to the Capitol. I think we had to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning or some crazy time. And, which by the way, Danny gave me a nice gift on that trip. The flu. Because I was perfectly fine. He was dying with something, coughing and hacking up something all the way to the Capitol. And then 3 days later, I came down with a nasty flu. I was like, I think I texted you, thanks for this Christmas gift, you know? But you're absolutely right, because when I went, and I'll talk a little bit about it, after, you know, I want Danny to continue the story, but when I was there, first day, I said, we need to do something for adults to come. Maybe not the labor intensive, but there's a lot of other things, and we talked about it, Danny and I talked about it, how going there and having this experience is so important.
Yeah.
And as a parish, I think that if we rotate different groups to go in, I think it's going to be very beneficial.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes I think we limit ourselves to, oh, that missionary work is for so-and-so. And as you know, Father, serving is kind of self-fulfilling, right? Because we kind of go with the intention of serving, and yet something else happens.
That's right.
We get served. And having the experience of doing that with my family was a dream come true, continues to be a dream that is happening with us as a family. And we want to be able to expose that to others. You know, as a parish, sometimes we're limited. You know, we say, oh, I'm involved here, there, but this takes you a little bit outside your comfort zone.
Yeah.
But I think it also strengthens you to come back and be a better person, you know, in your community.
Yeah, and I've been preaching about that. I've been preaching that we need to step outside that comfort zone. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. When we're able to go and serve and see the world through a different lens, come back and then serve our community, which needs to be served, and witness to the gospel. You do it with fervor, with the love for Jesus in a completely different level. Yeah. Yeah. So we need to get out. It doesn't matter what age you're at, you need to get out and do an apostolate that's going to nourish your faith to go forward.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Danny continues. So what happened?
So yeah, after going back 3 summers in a row with Lifeo Missions, the founder approached my sister and I and said, hey, you know, we love you guys. Thanks for inviting so many people, but we need space for new volunteers. You guys have recruited so many of your family and friends to join us. What do you guys think about the idea of starting another group and being able to help more than one community each year? Wow. And he had known that there was interest on our end to get more involved and to do something maybe a little bit bigger, try to impact more people. And I think that's something that he deserves a lot of credit for, because when a lot of people maybe would have said, why don't you just add another trip to Lifeo Missions? You know, he knew me as a person, he knew the entrepreneurial, you know, tendencies that I had, and you know, he wanted to inspire me to go out and do something. Right. So at age 19, my sister and I co-founded Blue Missions, and our goal was just to fundraise some money throughout the year, car washes, bake sales, garage sales. We would do everything to just raise a few $1,000s, and then we'd take a group of friends in the summer to go execute a project. However much money we raised, we would work with our partners, ILAC, down in the Dominican Republic, to prepare a community and work together with them on a project. So that first year, that first trip was my sister, myself, and 9 other friends of ours on the first Blue Missions project. And that was to the community of La Penda, which till this day, you know, we have 3 or 4 employees that live in that town that came from that first project.
Wow, so they were impacted to say, I want to be part of this. Yeah,
yeah. So that's kind of how we get to the inception of Blue. And again, I was 19 years old, studying finance and international business at FIU. I looked at it the way Albert had looked at it. You know, I thought I was going to graduate, go into a finance profession, or start a business, and have this passion project hobby on the side. That each year I would get to go with my family and friends and show them that need that existed, and help other communities get access to clean water.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of took on a life of its own.
Tell us a little bit about what Blue does,
Yeah.
because it's so fascinating. Find the source and then get it down to this village, which when I went, I said to myself, this was it took us a while to get up to the village where we were, up in the mountains, and then you say, why do people live for so generations in a place where there's no running water? But you have to understand the people. You have to understand their culture, the tradition, harvesting of the cacao, which is very important to them, their livelihood. And so here comes Blue and is able to have running water in your house, and it just transforms that whole place. But tell us, how does it happen? How do you, because how does it happen so quickly? We went there for a week, and at the end of our trip, water's on in all these people's homes.
Yeah, it looks like it happens very quick while you're on the trip.
I know there's a lot before we get there.
Yeah, and that's part of it, and I definitely want to talk to that point. First and foremost, the beautiful thing about Blue is the duality of the mission.
Yeah.
Our mission is to connect rural communities to life's most basic needs, which for us, it's clean water and sanitation. But the other side of our mission is to connect volunteers to their purpose. And that to me is if it's not just as important, it's more important. Because we want to inspire the next generation of world changers, and that is so key for us. And the way our projects work from a water and sanitation standpoint is our team on the ground receives requests throughout the year from communities that don't have clean water. And we'll go out and visit them, we'll scout them, we'll evaluate them both from a engineering side, but also from a social capital side. Is there leaders in this community? Can they get organized? Can they lead their community to a successful project? And then we start training them. So we train those water committees, and the process is a year-long process. You're teaching them everything from how to glue pipes, how to fix
a year-long
something.
Project.
Yeah, it can be anywhere from 6 months to a year of preparation prior to when the group arrives. We go over everything, even what happens when a family doesn't pay their water bill. Because these communities own the systems. They set up bank accounts. They collect. Process is a year-long process. You're teaching them everything from how to glue pipes, how to fix
a year-long
something.
Project.
Yeah, it can be anywhere from 6 months to a year of preparation prior to when the group arrives. We go over everything, even what happens when you do the water. And this is all in-house led. They elect these water committee leaders.
Yeah, and I think that when you give something for free, there's this tendency to not take it, not appreciate it.
For sure.
And so I think that's very wise.
For sure.
It's not free water. It says, we need you to help us maintain this beautiful gift that you are now.
Yeah. What we want to do is empower them. They're very smart people. They are more similar to us than they are different.
Right.
They have the same emotions. They laugh, they cry, they love, they
Same
feel
desires.
the same things. They have goals, they have aspirations.
Right.
But they were just born into a different situation.
Right.
How do we empower them and give them the tools that they need to be able to succeed and reach those goals and aspirations? And that's really what it's all about. We teach them about their social capital. They can go to their local government and ask for 100 bags of cement or the rebar that they need. And that might be something that never crossed their mind as a possibility. They might have family outside of the US that can start fundraising campaigns to help them raise money. And yes, we put the majority of the cost, the financial cost of a project, but we make sure that there's that community buy-in. And that's the job of our team on the ground, to evaluate how much each community should or needs to put forward. And yeah, that's the magic of the mission. We want to empower them and help them help themselves. So
then you do the whole project. It takes about a year, 6 months, and then you leave it for the week where the volunteers from the States come in.
Yeah.
They hike up a mountain, bring down the tubing, the water supply to this tank. And that was my favorite part of the whole trip, was building that tank. And now you do this at every project?
Pretty much, yeah.
Every water project, yeah.
There is something so special about that day, those days of building that tank with that 4 walls cement block.
Yeah.
And you really get to see these young adults that we took, just how beautiful they are in the generosity of giving and wanting to learn and share with the volunteers from from the village. Guys like Assis, Michelle's husband, what a workhorse! That guy was. I was like,
he's the #1 draft pick.
You want to take that guy on every trip. What the strength of shoveling and making cement, I've never seen anything like that, you know? I was like, I got the shovel for 2 or 3 times, like, okay, here you go. I'll be on the bucket brigade, you know?
I think to your point that you love the tank, anybody that goes on one of these trips has an area of focus.
What they love.
And possibly it's because you were asked to work that morning in that
Right.
location. So you have the installation of the pipe from the
I
source
saw
to
the
the
whole
tank.
process.
You have the building of the tank, and then you have installation of pipe from tank to town, and then eventually put in the valves in the homes.
Right.
And what happens in each one of those areas is there's a little mini building of a community.
Yeah.
Because you
You're
probably
absolutely right.
remember the 3 or 4 Dominicans that you were
That's
with
right.
at the tank every single day.
That's
They,
right.
they became your little family.
That's right.
And there's this building of a community that happens, you know, in the sort of micro scheme of the entire project. And these
Which I
become your
love
best
because
buddies.
the guy the house that I was living in, which you guys put me up, the owner of that house, he was with me at the tank every day. And it was great because at night there was nothing to do. There's no internet, there's no television, there's no phone. Can't even use your own phone. So what do? You sit in chairs outside in the nice breeze and you talk about the day, you talk about them, who are you, and you talk about their life.
Yeah.
And you get to know this person. And like you said, they become this little community that's working on this aspect of the project.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Very
And
special.
For
I mean,
sure.
you know, Danny can expand on this, but he said that the first town was La Penda. One of our main employees in the Dominican Republic is the main person from La Penda that led that construction. And today he's an employee of Blue Missions, along with many other campesinos that are part of the staff that we have down there, which is in the neighborhood of 25 employees. And maybe, Dan, you can explain, you know, who they are, or what they represent to us.
Yeah, and I wanted to kind of explain a little bit more about the water system,
Yeah, I
right,
love
and,
it.
and how it works for those who are watching and might not have any idea of how this can work. So basically, in the Dominican Republic, there's a lot of rural villages that they live off the land. You know, they live a very simple life, and for them, it's normal to fetch their water, to collect their water, and the people who bear that responsibility are the women and children within each family. The kids take turns. They walk with their 5-gallon buckets to the nearest water source, which could be a creek, where people also wash their cars or animals cross. It could, you know, it's dirty water on top of that for the most part, and that eliminates so many hours from their day. You know, there's a ton of health impacts from that, but the time that it takes to collect this water.
I think you're absolutely right.
Yeah, the time that you
takes.
need to, it's not just water to drink, it's water to cook, it's water to clean,
Yeah.
it's water to shower. You know, you need water for so many facets of your life. And
I think that until you go to to a place like this, you don't understand how essential water is in your life.
definitely.
I take it for granted.
You know, and that's what we want the volunteers to experience also. You know, what is a bucket shower? I didn't even know a bucket shower existed. Oh, I have to carry this all the way back to where I'm showering? You know, those are the realities, right? And until you break that cycle of poverty, until you have clean water, the kids can't go get educated. They don't have access to that, you know, because they just can't go consistently enough to then go on to high school and the university and pursue those dreams.
Yeah.
So the reason why water caught our attention and captivated us in such a way was because we saw the impacts, you know, and how much the water project could impact the community. You know, giving a mother a chance to raise her kids the way she wants to, or to start her own business and earn another income while the husband's out working in the fields. You know, it's just the possibilities are endless, but it can't begin until there's clean water. So, you know, it begins and ends with that. And the way our projects work is we tap into natural springs that are located at higher altitudes than the community. So, you know, in front of the camera, the water source is going to be at a higher elevation than where the homes are. And somewhere in between, we construct a cement concrete tank where the water is stored and treated if necessary. And then from that tank, gravity allows the water to flow down where a faucet then gets installed in each and every home within the community. So that's kind of the science behind it. Depending on the country, there's different solutions. In Colombia, we've worked with wells, where you dig down deep and pump the water out. But the majority of our projects are in the Dominican Republic and are gravity-fed aqueducts.
That's the trick to it, the gravity fed.
Yeah.
And it's I love how it works. Have you ever gone to a place where it's just, you start the project and you're like, this is not gonna work? Or just it all magically happens?
No, but we have gone to a place and realized that it's not feasible. So we'll know before
you start to invest.
Yeah, before we start to put dollars behind a project. The first study is the feasibility study. We go out there with the tools to measure the altitudes at different critical points in the system and
the flow of water, if there's enough water for the community.
Yeah.
Now the water comes from the mountains. They still boil that water, right?
Not
Or
always.
is it fresh?
Not
Make a
always.
drink?
The water gets filtered and it'll get treated if necessary. The water committee is
Through the
educated
tank?
on that. Yeah, through the tank, and also at point of use. So every community is different. Some communities have 30 families, others have 350 families. So the solutions vary. There's filters that they can use at home to filter that water. Sometimes they boil it. Sometimes their bodies are acclimated to the sedimentation that's in the water, and it's totally fine for them to drink it.
Probably better than the river water that they were bringing up from buckets.
Yeah, we're talking about natural springs, and we try to go as high up as possible where there's no animals near it. There's no way for that source to get contaminated.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's powerful. One of the blessings that I had was being able to celebrate Mass every day and the sacraments and hear confession. And now, do all the little towns and villages have a chapel?
Yeah, I mean, this is a very Catholic, very Christian
Yeah.
area. So there's usually a church.
And that's where they have their meetings too, right?
And that's where everything takes
we
place.
We had the meeting there. Yeah, everything takes
That
place
is
there in
the
church.
community hall.
Where it should be,
And
Christ
it's where we
Center.
sleep at times, right? It's
really?
it's also been used as sleeping quarters where we obviously respectfully separate
Right.
certain areas. But yeah, churches and schools in every community that we visit.
It's incredible. We would celebrate Mass and people would walk 4 hours to come to Mass.
Yeah, I was going to mention in all of these communities, the downside is that there's not enough priests.
Right.
So you're dealing with communities that will have a priest that travels and will give one Mass a month.
Right.
In each of these communities. So usually there's an assigned minister, kind of your local deacon. They get trained.
Which I love because they really, that deacon or that lay minister was very good.
Yeah, yeah. And they're kind of that religious conscience for the
Right.
community. Always keeping people going on Sundays or doing different activities as the priest rotates through the region. So in your particular case, we had that added benefit where we're telling the town, not only are we coming here to bring you water, which you asked for a year ago and Blue Missions accepted you, but oh, by the way, a priest is coming. And you remember from our pre-visit, our scouting visit, they started scheduling their baptisms, first communions, confession, everything.
It was amazing.
I'm sure you could speak to that. I wasn't there.
But
Daddy
it was
there.
such joy, It was such joy. Every night we had Mass, jam-packed, full. And the people loved it. But also, too, the young adults that we took, just seeing their eyes with tears in their eyes. And because they could tell how important that was for them.
Yeah.
And that here I am, a young kid in Miami, and sometimes I take for granted that I can go to Mass anytime.
Yeah.
We've been without Jesus for 9 weeks, 10 weeks, and these people, that's their reality. There'll be a month, 6 weeks where a priest will not be able to go to that village and celebrate Mass.
Correct.
I remember when we came down the mountain, we had to be in the capital, so we went from that town to the capital. We left like 3 o'clock in the morning. It took a long time to get down the mountain. I remember.
Oh, yeah.
I remember telling you, are we close? Like, no, we still got a ways.
Yeah, that was a long drive.
A long drive, you know? Just getting down the mountain. And some of the roads are so hard to travel.
Yeah.
Really hard.
Yeah, and that's at the root of what we do. You know, it's helping the people who
Connecting
don't have a
communities.
voice.
Yeah.
You know, blue stands for building love, uniting everyone. You know, and not a lot of people know that. They think blue, the color of water. You know, they make that connection, but really what we're trying to do is to bring together these two very different worlds and help people realize, you know, how similar we are.
Yeah, I'll take these.
Going to the deepest corners of our world, where people may feel like they don't have a voice, where they may feel helpless, like no one cares about them. You know, that's where we want to be, and that's why it's so hard to get to those areas in a vehicle, and why it takes so long to get off the mountain. Because part of our criteria in selecting communities is we want to go somewhere where if we don't go, it's not likely that someone else will get there.
Yeah, and it's the whole feel too of you're important and you matter. And because I remember some people would say, why are you here? Why do you care about me? Why are these American kids, instead of going somewhere else, why are they here and taking bucket showers and getting eaten by mosquitoes and whatever insects, and they're loving it.
Yeah.
And they're loving it, and they come back completely transformed. I was telling parents here when I came back from the Blue Mission, I was on fire. I think I was preaching at it every mass. I was telling the parish what a great experience we had at Blue, and but you know, a lot of these kids, I was telling them, I said, if your kid needs a come to Jesus moment, this kind of understand what's really important in life, send them on a Blue Mission. Send them to the DR and they will come back transformed. Because all these young adults that we brought, they all came back transformed.
Yeah, you know, it's kind of a cliche to say some of these things.
It is, yeah.
We've had the fortune of, you know, forcing Danny to go, right? You know, it's that typical example. Right. And a lot of parents have sent their kids for the reasons you mentioned. Many have sent them or allowed them to go because it gives them 150 community service hours.
Right.
So there's an objective there, or the essay you're going to write to go to the university.
Right.
But something else happens in there that brings the kid back home with just a completely different, you know, I always think about sculpting that human, right? As parents, as pastors, we have a responsibility with parishioners, children, to sculpt them hopefully in the best possible humans, while we ourselves are not anywhere near perfect, right? And they come back and they do things like what Blue Mission's kids do. You know, I'm very blessed to be surrounded by these crazy kids that have taken service to a level that I couldn't imagine. You know, I mean, I've been involved in church for many years, but not to the level of starting something and giving up everything as far as careers or climbing a corporate ladder.
Because none of that is important anymore.
Because that's not the
seen,
priority in their lives. You know, so all these kids that are coming, and I go back to the families because I think it's never too late to learn this. Right. You know, a lot of us think, you know, I'm 56, a lot of us think, oh, okay, that was past me. No. Every town, every trip is an opportunity for me to be a better person. You know, even at this age. Even
I love it. That's why I want to take adults on this trip. But one of the things that when we had our first meeting, remember I went with Michelle over to the office, Blue office, just to talk about preliminaries. And you guys gave a presentation, a really nice presentation. And you said something that stuck with me that was so powerful. And I want you to just kind of explain a little bit. But you said, you will experience the campo magic, and we just allow that campo magic to do its thing. And I was like, and you explained it, but it wasn't until I was there I said, I know what Danny's talking about. Because I'm seeing this with my own eyes, and this is amazing. I don't want to be anywhere else right now. I just want to be here in this campo magic. So what is campo magic?
If I had to explain it in a simple way, you know, I think for everyone it's different, right?
Right. Everybody's different.
What they perceive while they're there.
Right.
But for me, it's the human connection. you know, and your shirt says it, kindness connects us. And when you are there and you have that human connection, when you are eye to eye with someone, you're not serving them from above, no one's below, you're eye to eye, you're working hand in hand, you're switching off your pick and your shovel as you guys are working, and the color of your skin doesn't matter, the language you speak doesn't matter, your beliefs don't matter, you're together, you know, you are one. And I think that's the beautiful part of these projects is realizing that, and also harnessing your power to change the world, you know, coming to the realization that I can make a difference. I am one person, I am small, but I can make a difference. And that's the message to everyone, our youth, the adults that travel with us, is you're called to find your purpose, you know, and you have to actively pursue that. It's not always gonna smack you in the face, you know, and that's what we want people to do, to channel that. And we're so proud of our alumni and you know, what they stand for and what they represent and what they believe. And you know, it's humbling to think that we're a small part of that, you know, that maybe we planted some of those seeds. But it's them, you know, it's them answering that call to find their purpose. And that's the challenge that we have for everyone that's out there. The world needs more people who love what they do. The world needs more people thinking about others. And, you know, right now is a pretty timely moment for us to all kind of reflect and say, hey, what can I do for others?
Right now, what's going on? I mean, what you're saying right now is so powerful, and it's so appropriate to what we're dealing with right now as a country. But coronavirus dealt you a blow, a big blow, because we had our own trips ready to go.
Yeah.
You know, and with travel restrictions, with Dominican Republic, I don't know how they fared with the coronavirus, but it all halted the mission trips. So what's Blue Mission doing now, and how are you dealing with this?
Yeah, it's definitely a big blow. You know, it's an emotional blow.
Yeah.
You know, it's the first summer in the past 14 years that I won't be in the Dominican Republic. You know, it's hard to even imagine. You know, we had 675 volunteers signed up to travel with us this summer to help construct close to 40 projects in one summer. You know, which is incredible. A lot of communities waiting for us that are now disappointed.
Yeah.
Obviously, everyone understanding the borders are closed.
And I think before Corona, you guys had like a little bit of a momentum going, right?
Yeah.
A nice wave where people were coming into knowing Blue Missions, wanting to get involved, and
yeah, no, for sure. It's definitely it's a blow, but our team, you know, you see 2 members of our team here. The other 4 members are 4 of my closest friends.
Yeah.
They're my best friends since first grade. Someone I've known since she was in diapers, Nicole Aguirre, our program director. Leslie Ramos, who went on her first trip when she was in high school, fell in love with the work and felt a calling. We're in this, you know, we are gonna do everything we can to build love and unite everyone, period.
Is Leslie still with you?
Yeah.
Amazing.
She's working right now at the office along with 8 other interns filming the program that we're building to kind of help supplement what Blue does during these times where we can't travel.
And which I love is because they come to Mass here. Like I'll see Leslie at Mass and some of the other people, so it's great.
For sure. And they're just passionate, right? We just respond. There's no time to feel bad for ourselves and the situation, you know, the economic
So how do you reinvent?
impacts.
How do you re-energize? How do you renew? And because you got to move forward. So next summer in 2021, you'll be, God willing, in the Dominican Republic. So how do you sustain yourself until, you know, some of the mission trips can continue again?
Yeah. So
how can we help? How do we?
There's a couple ways. Something that we've always been passionate about is the education of our youth here locally as well. So we spark this fire while they're in the campo. They come back home, and as you know, just like retreats, you know, that fire is burning, and eventually it burns light. Yeah, it burns out, and you need to kind of feed that fire. And we've always wanted to develop something. We established a program called REACH, Reflection, Education, and Action to Connect Humanity. And that began a few years back, developed by Annie Sanchez from Our Lady of Lourdes Academy. And it basically is a pseudo youth group for high school students to learn about different global issues and to find out ways that they can take on those global issues here locally.
I love it.
That's how the program started, and now we are creating an entire virtual online education portal regarding the different UN development goals, the different issues that exist, and providing resources and tools for our local youth to be able to connect with organizations that are taking on those issues right here.
But
in
that
our
was
local
after
community.
Corona?
That was after Corona. We had it planned for next year.
So tell me again how that works?
So right now we're building the content as we're speaking.
Right now.
There's videos being filmed at our office. We have different sets set up. We have interns doing research on tools that the kids can use, and we're putting this all on an online portal where middle school students, high school students, people of any age can go on, register for these courses, learn about the issue, and figure out ways to get involved. There's service components involved with these programs as well. So we haven't announced it yet to the public. This is the first time.
Hey.
So sorry, Leslie, if I wasn't supposed to say anything.
I love it. Say, tell all the secrets.
But Father Vigo
You
is
heard it
he's
here
breaking
first.
news. He's breaking news.
Breaking news.
But we were hoping to come out with an announcement in the next few
great.
weeks, launching that initiative. And then we also need to stay ready, right? We need to
Right.
stay ready to work in the communities in the Dominican Republic. Thankfully, we've had a lot of support. Our gala was canceled, which was scheduled to take place in May. We have a virtual gala going on online. If you guys are willing and are
Let's
able to
help.
support,
Yeah.
please do so.
Because you have you had to release any of your employees in the Dominican Republic?
We have not. We have not.
Praise God,
And
'cause
thankfully,
That is so crucial for them. that
they're
job.
key. They're indispensable. And we made that our priority in early March when we saw the direction things were going, to start reducing costs to preserve
To really-
our operations in the DR.
Yeah.
And that was the focus. And it's amazing. It's a testament to our team. No one flinched. Everyone knew that that's
I'll
what we needed to do.
sacrifice.
That we need to sacrifice now, because without our team in the DR, this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And we all rallied around each other. We all came together. We faced the adversity, head
Yeah,
on.
because a hardship here is way different than a hardship in the Dominican Republic or in a country like the
Yeah.
Dominican Republic.
Yeah, and we actually there's a lot of employees that are part-time employees that their 3 months of working with Blue Missions in the summer is what they earn for the year.
Yeah, it pays for the whole year.
It pays for the whole year. So we've even issued payments, even though projects aren't going on, and they're still under, their shelter in place. Actually, they actually just started opening things up, but they're not able to kind of get out and even earn a living unless it's in the fields in their communities. So we just issued payments to all those part-time workers as well, and we want to make sure that they're taken care of, and that
So
whenever
important.
this passes, that we are able to just kind of get back up and going and not have to rehire people, but just keep them engaged with us throughout this entire time.
So tell me how your faith works in all of this, because you could have gone to do anything. You're a smart guy. You went to college. You went to, had a good upbringing, good education. So why this? And what did the Lord speak to you? And I mean, we touched upon it a little bit throughout the talk, but you personally, Danny Rodriguez, how do you see that?
Yeah, I see it as, kind of like when you know, and
Yeah.
finding that purpose. That is deeply rooted inside myself and in our team members. I believe that you need to find what you're called to do, and
Yeah.
you need to do whatever it takes to find that. And when you find it, feed it. Water it, nurture it, and watch it grow into something beautiful. And also always listen, right? You could be being called to do more things, and it's that's kind of the constant question. What are we being called to do? How can we be examples of faith in action? How can we take that faith that we've been taught and brought up with and put it into action to create real change? And I think that's what this next generation that's coming up really understands. They understand the power that they have, and that's if I myself and our team can be a small part of helping our youth channel that, then that's what we got to do.
So powerful. And your mission trips, they're all different. Who makes like the curriculum for every day? And because I really loved it, I'm sure there's elements that are at every mission trip, but
No spoilers.
no spoilers. I won't give it away, but there is the faith component is very strong. And is that something that you all crafted into it, or what's the medium when you have these young people come in, and what do you think, Chiqui? How did you guys come up with that secret sauce?
It's a great question. Let's see if Danny's okay with my answer.
No spoilers though, because I agree with you, Danny. I agree with you, no spoilers, because you get there and it works.
Yeah. I think going back to the original questions, LIFO missions probably set a template that Blue Missions followed. And in the case of LIFO missions, it was about serving a needy community. But inserted into our daily activities, we had, our morning reflections.
Yeah.
We had our sharing with the campesinos and visiting them, in their houses personally at night, and maybe singing, dancing, and oh, by the way, praying.
Yeah.
Right? So it goes back to your question on the Campo Magic. I also remember Danny saying it when you were at the office, and it's been a line I've used now, because we are a nonprofit organization that sometimes is promoting itself in kind of this secular world, right? It's easy to speak to you about faith, or to St. Augustine promoting the trips about faith, but you go to Miami-Dade County Public Schools and you have a different version of this. Come join us.
Yeah,
right?
because that's important. That's an important point there. These are not just Catholic kids that are going on.
No,
Blue
not
Missions,
at all.
so.
Not at all.
But there is a faith element to it that is so powerful, which I love.
Absolutely, and I think it's some of that basic learning that they had, and experience they had at LIFO that they brought to Blue. But then I also give all the credit to how God works with us in the campo. Because it's that campesino that met you at the door when you arrived and invited you to his church.
Yeah.
Or invited you to go visit the sick. I remember going on a trip where the first thing the lady told me as she met me, she just saw my cross. And she said, "Oh, you guys are Catholic." And I said, "Yeah, we're Christian, all of us, but mostly Catholics." And she said, "We have a member of our community that's sick. Can you guys come and pray?"
Wow, how powerful.
That was it. I was like, already in awe, because
First day.
first day.
You're saying, thank you, Jesus.
So as we set up our nightly visits, I went to Alfred Consuegra and Albert, and I said, "Hey, I think we got our first house visit. It's this lady who's ill, and they want us to pray." And all 40 members of the team went, and I'm never going to forget that. We were, how their homes are,
Right.
very small, and the lady was in bed, and we were all in there, and people were putting their hands and praying, and we didn't have this on the agenda when we were
Right.
getting ready for the trip.
Right.
The Campo Magic happened.
It's beautiful.
So I think, God takes us by the hand. You know how we are when we prepare for retreats. We always get prepared. Everybody's worried. Do you have your talk ready, this ready, and everybody's nervous. And then some bright spiritual person in the group says, "Hey, the rest is in God's hands."
Yeah, allow room for the Holy Spirit.
Yes, and that's kind of how this works. These kids get ready. They have all the basics. They got their template, and the Campo Magic happens.
I love it. I really believe in Blue. I wish more people would get involved, get on board, and more schools and more kids would go, because I really think that every high school kid should go on a Blue Mission. I wish I had Blue Mission when I was in high school. I would have done it, and I would have loved it. So I commend you guys, and keep doing the good work that you're doing, because you're transforming hearts and you're leading them to the Lord, which is, like you said, my vocation. You said that at the beginning when we started talking. But I want you to talk about the day when you turn on water. That was so much fun.
Yeah. Water Day is always a...
Water Day, that's what you call it.
Yeah. And it's interesting.
Well, before you tell us about
Go
the
ahead,
water.
go ahead.
This is crazy, beautiful.
These desserts.
What is
Can we
it?
eat them?
Yeah, these desserts are
Check
amazing.
this out.
Yeah, I don't know if people
And
can see
I
this,
told
but this is amazing.
the lady who donates them,
Wow.
such a sweet lady from a parishioner, who said, "I don't want you to mention my name on the show." I was like, "Okay."
It's too pretty.
She's
I don't even wanna eat it.
She deserves a plug.
I know, but I'm gonna respect it. But she says, "I want to bring the dessert." I'm like, "You could bring it anytime you want. They're so beautiful." What is that? Orange with what?
It's like a crema
With a
inside,
crema?
like natilla. Oh my God.
Delicious. And that, Danny, I think that's dark chocolate.
You got to give me the name
Delicious.
later.
And this is popcorn.
This is all fat-free, right?
Fat free.
Okay, just making sure.
Oh man, this is awesome. All right, so tell us about Water Day, because that is that's the highlight. That's the climax of the trip.
for sure.
You know?
For sure. And it's different as you experience more and more of them.
Yeah.
You know, you look at different things. It's just a culmination of so much hard work, so much sweat, so much desperation from the community members, you know, going without water for so long. And it's a moment where everyone comes together, we gather around the pipe, and we're going to open it for the first time. We're going to release the water from the source and test the system for the first time. And it's a celebration once the water shoots through that pipe and the kids start running under the faucet. The older people in the community start going under the faucet. They're taking turns putting their heads under the water. These communities have been promised water maybe by different you know, government entities or other organizations, and they've never had results. So until they see it, part of that community doesn't really believe or have that faith until they actually see the water shoot through that pipe. So the final...
Well, let me tell you something. I want to tell you, and Cheeky will remember this because our first night we had a meeting, or second night, we had a meeting in the church with all of the members of that village. And this one guy stood up and he said, an elder, one of the elders of the group, and he said, I just want to tell you, this is all very nice, and thank you for coming. But I just want you to know, we've been promised water many times, and it's never happened. And you're telling me that by the time that you all leave, that we're going to have water? I don't believe it. And I'm just being honest. I don't want to be the one who's a downer or being pessimistic, but I want to tell you, we've been promised water before, and I don't believe it. Well, that guy, and you saw him, that guy on that day, that night, we had a big mass to rejoice the gift of water and the blessing from God. We're celebrating Mass. That guy was on his knees crying, asking for forgiveness for being incredulous. And it was so moving and so powerful. And he couldn't stop thanking the team. It was so beautiful. Yeah. So beautiful. But he was, what you're saying, they've been promised water so much and nobody has come through.
Yeah. Yeah. When it finally arrives, you know, it's just celebration, it's jubilation, it's a sense of completion, satisfaction, that those nights that you couldn't sleep because the dogs were barking and that river that you had to cross with water all the way up to your waist and the mosquito bites and you know all the challenges that you faced, the financial cost of participating on a mission, you know, all those sacrifices that people make, you forget about all that. You know, it's all justified in that moment because you're looking at a 95-year-old woman who's in tears under a faucet because she knows that her grandchildren are never going to have to deal with the same things that she had to deal with.
Yeah, it's incredible.
So it's special.
Water Day is so special.
Some of them are more anticlimactic.
Ours was very climatic.
The one in December was great, and it's always great. It's always great, just for different reasons.
And what I loved was that they were all jumping into the water.
Yeah.
They were clothes and all, and shoes and all. They could not believe the flow of that water, and they were just, we're going to rejoice at the miracle of this event here.
I mean, you know, Danny said it, and it's worth repeating. Water changes lives.
Right.
And, you know, what I think don't even realize is that day, all these people are thinking about, I don't have to go walk miles to go fetch water anymore.
Yeah.
I can now send my kids to school and they're not going to miss days of school. I, as a mother, am not going to struggle with a back injury or a head injury or things that have affected me, and I can now do and have another dream of my own.
Carrying those heavy buckets.
Danny, in one of the videos that's, you know, kind of my favorite video of Blue Missions on YouTube, it's called A Night in the Campo, you know, talks about a little girl coming to him and kind of hugging him and thanking him at the end of the trip, saying that because of the water that's just arrived, now she can make her dream come true.
Wow. And
go and become a lawyer. This is a girl that was, what, 8, 9 years old?
10 years old.
10 years old. And this girl is now currently starting the university as we speak.
Really? Now, why did she think that she could not pursue her dreams because of lack of water? Because that's a question somebody may ask.
Yeah, I mean, I was shocked that she said it. You know, it was our third project in 2012, town of Carrasco, and her name is Violenia Esteves. And she's someone who I talk to on a weekly basis.
Wow.
Before we left her town, on the last day, she stopped our group before we got on the bus, and And she looked at me and she said, thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to pursue my dream of becoming a lawyer. And I couldn't believe that she said that. You know, a 10-year-old saying that, obviously in Spanish. But she understood the magnitude of the project. She understood what clean water represented for her. And maybe she didn't understand it fully, but she understood it enough.
But for a 10-year-old to understand that,
Yeah.
they have to grow up fast in
Yeah.
these communities.
Yeah. And since then, we've been able to send more groups to work on sanitation within that community. And I've always maintained in contact with her and her parents and making sure that she was on the right track. And in January, she started her first semester at the private Catholic university on a full ride scholarship with housing and everything to pursue her degree.
Incredible.
So yeah, we're very proud of her.
You can feel very proud about that.
Yeah.
But sanitation is one of the projects, Cheeky, we've talked about this, to take some of the adults for us, because it's not as labor intensive as building the tank and bucket brigade and going through the jungle with tubes and pipes and stuff.
Yeah, it's definitely an opportunity.
It's fun. It's a lot of hard work.
It's adventurous.
I don't think I ever worked, labor intensive, because you go to the gym, you try to stay fit, but you're walking through the jungle
Campo
and it's
is different.
raining and your feet are slipping and sliding and you're going up a hill with pipes on your shoulder. You're saying,
Who invited me to this?
Who invited me to this, And I was thinking to myself, maybe the priest doesn't need to do this, Doesn't even need a confession or something, Can't we baptize a kid now? No, you're going up the mountain with us, But it was life-changing, and I'm so proud that you guys are in my parish and that you're part of my life, and that once this Corona craziness gets out of the way, we're going to get back full force and really promote Blue Missions, because it's a way to encounter that Campo magic, to encounter who you are in the face of God, and allow God to just show you what the world is really about. Because especially our kids get caught up in social media and all the craziness of the world, and they kind of lose touch of things that are important and priorities in life. And when you're on that Blue Mission, the Lord kind of taps you on the shoulder to say, I'm the most important one. And you're now to go out and serve your neighbor and love your brother or love your sister. And when they find that for the first time, it's transformative.
Yeah.
It changes lives.
And Father, we can't thank you.
And I always thought it was about water.
Yeah.
It's not about water.
No.
At all.
At least for the volunteers that are going to
for sure.
on Blue Mission.
And I was going to say, we can't thank you enough. We remember you mentioned coming to our office, and Father Tran had already come in and kind of gave his blessing, and we were like all gung-ho, and then Michelle said, Father Vigoa wants to come and meet you guys as well. And I'm like, oh my God, here we go again. And I was at least a little concerned, because I was like, is he going to like it? He's the pastor and all this stuff. And when you came in and kind of looked around and had that same sort of gleam of, why, I remember your question, like Father Tran was, why aren't you guys more known in the Archdiocese? And, since then we've had some connections with other priests. And that's something I would encourage any of your buddies.
Talk to your pastors.
Talk to your pastors.
Talk to your
because
pastors.
we would really love to replicate what we're doing with St. Augustine at other parishes.
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that everything builds. We talk about how do we build our parish? How do we build our church? I'm obviously a bit biased about Blue, but I think Blue can definitely help a parish grow even further. With that experience.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
Those kids came back on fire.
Yeah.
And I still see them, and they're very involved in all the different ministries that we do. When we did Michelle did, it was her idea, and it worked out so well. We did a food drive for the pantry, and we had the cars come up, pop your trunk, we took the groceries out, and we have stocked our pantry, which has been great. The majority of the kids that worked on that were Blue kids.
Yeah. It's awesome.
And they had that connection of service and wanting to help and be there. And so it does transform lives, and has nothing to do with water. But Cheeky and Danny, thank you so much for coming out. I hope lunch was good.
It was
great.
awesome.
And I like that you guys actually ate lunch. You didn't watch your pastor.
I was
eat
pacing
lunch.
myself. It'll come out in the video. I was eating a little bit faster than usual.
That's good. But thank you so much for coming out today. And know that you have my full support. I love what you're doing, and I pray God's blessing upon Blue Missions, and that you continue to grow and explode hearts for Jesus, and allow that Campo Magic to help people all around the Dominican Republic. Thank you for being here, and thanks for the shirt. I love it.
Enjoy it. Represent. Kindness
I love
connects
it.
us.
I love it. So thanks. God
Awesome.
bless. Take care.
Anyone want some chocolate?